Rev up the spin potential with the Yonex VCORE 98. Yonex continues to revolutionize the VCORE family. In the 2023 version, Yonex has re-engineered the frame's geometry, starting with a new throat design and then widening the surface area of the upper hoop for more stability and power. Additionally, a new technology, SIF Grommets, allow for greater string movement, resulting in more spin. The VCORE 98 features a lower RA of 62, an 11.4-ounce strung weight, and a 6 points headlight balance. I was lucky enough to play test both the VCORE 98 and the 100 side by side, and it's no secret that I tend to prefer 100 square inch head sizes, but every now and again a 98 square inch head size catches my eye, and this VCORE 98 is one of them. Right off the bat, I noticed that power and spin that the VCORE family is known for, but with this 98 version, I found a little bit more control, a little bit less power than the 100 with that same amount of spin potential. Now, what I really like from my ground strokes is that I'm able to hit a variety of shots and mix it up. I love to drive it deep and then mix in these short angled balls to really keep my opponent guessing. And then when I move to net, I got that VCORE feel that I love, the Yonex feel. It's a little bit softer than the previous version, so I was able to either drive the ball deep or soften my hands and hit a nice short ball. When it came to serves, I did have to work a little bit harder to get power, so I really focused on my spins, and I really love to hit a slice serve out wide with this racket. On returns, which is my favorite shot, I was really able to swing out with this racket. And one big difference that I noticed from this one and the 100 was that it was a little bit lower launch angle, so I didn't feel like my ball was flying as much, and I was able to control it a lot better. My one small knock, which is more of a personal issue, is I had to work a little bit harder to hit all of my shots, especially my second serve return where I was trying to be really aggressive. Overall though, this was a great playing frame. It's one of my favorite 98 square inch rackets to date, and I love the easy power and control mixed with spin.
I got to play test this VCORE 98 alongside of the 95, and the 98 was my obvious favorite out of those two rackets. It just offered me a little bit more free power, and I enjoyed hitting with it just a lot more than that 95. But I will say the noticeable change from the previous model is it's definitely a lot softer. I've talked about this before, my favorite versions of the VCOREs were those SV VCOREs. So I tend to like stiffer rackets and don't always gel really well with a lower RA. I prefer something that comes in and out of the string bed, and I could definitely feel the ball pocketing very nicely, just not my cup of tea. My favorite shot to hit with this racket was the spin serve though. I really felt if I could accelerate the tip of the racket, I was rewarded. And I did notice once I changed my ground stroke style a little bit and allowed the tip of the racket to come through more in a whippy fashion rather than plowing through the ball, it worked better for the way I play tennis. So all in all, this was a fun play test. I definitely prefer the feel of an ISO 98 over a VCORE 98. And I'm also very curious to see if we get a VCORE 98 Plus in the future. But that's all from us in SLO, California. Let's see what the playtesters on the other side of the country had to say about this racket.
Thank you, Michelle. Let me just start by saying I really enjoyed this frame, the new update for the Yonex VCORE 98. I definitely felt like it was an improvement from the previous generation. I loved every aspect of this frame. I loved how much spin and power I was getting off of it. I enjoyed especially coming up at net on my approach shots with this racket. I felt like I was really able to pinpoint my shot selection and finish off the point strong up at net. I really enjoyed this racket on my serves. I felt like I was able to generate a good amount of kick and slice with this frame. I'm trying to generate a little bit more of a serve and volley game moving forward, and I feel like this racket would be an excellent choice for that. My only con with this frame for me personally was at times I felt it was a little bit too muted, but it's an excellent choice for anybody looking for an arm-friendly frame that's going to provide a good amount of power and spin to their game.
Having recently switched to the new E-Zone family, I must admit that I wasn't quite as familiar with the new VCOREs. That being said, I gave myself a chance to play with the last generation compared to this one. I have to say I really think that the new generation is an improvement. What they've changed is they've added a little bit more of a flare to the top of the hoop, thinned down the top section of the beam, and what that entails is a little bit more spin generation and actually a much higher launch angle. With that being the case, I found this racket very stable in just about all aspects of the game, as is typical with many Yonex frames. But where it really stood out was that spin generation and giving you a nice, good margin for those more flatly hit strokes. For me personally, The only aspects of the racket that I found a little bit wanting was the beam width, in that it was just a little too thick for my preference, and the plow through being not quite what I'm used to in a racket. Overall, I would recommend this racket to the intermediate to advanced player who finds they tend to hit a little bit more of a flatter shot and is looking to add a little bit more shape to their strokes.
We strung up the Yonex VCORE 98 with Yonex Polytour Strike at around 52 pounds. For more information on this racket or any others, please check us out at Tennis Warehouse, Tennis Warehouse Europe, or Tennis Only.